Let's start with James Carpia from the Oregonian.
Alex, good to see you again.
Good to see you, James.
With the starting five in particular, I mean, he knew this day was going to come. It just weren't necessarily planning for Panay in the part of this, but to that group after Jones and Forsyth, have TJ and Salah and George kind of solidified things, or how fluid is it still with that first five?
It's fluid every day. Every day we change it. Today we had a walkthrough, and we had 4 different sections of the walkthrough, and in each of the sections of the walkthrough was a different five in terms of who was in there and piecing the puzzle. There's about 8-9 guys right now that are still competing to figure out who's going to be the top 5. And then once you get the top 5, and then it's kind of figuring out which spots are they in, because as you said, the closest thing that these guys have played to a game was last week's scrimmage, and we have another scrimmage on Saturday. So after the second scrimmage, then you'll start solidifying a little bit more permanent spots, So, they just keep going. And you know what, James, also with the whole COVID deal, we've been cross-training these guys because, you better have depth, because you never know. So all the way up until the start of camp, and even the first couple of days of camp, everybody was in a right-handed stance, and then everybody was in the left-handed stance, just so that you can have position flexibility and versatility, in case something happened, and then also just for the pure fact of, who are your best 5 going to be, and then where's the best spot for those guys. So right now, no one has solidified anything, and we're just continuing to compete and trying to get better.
Next question goes to AJ Jacobson from Rivals.
Coach, we've been hearing a lot of good things from other players and coaches about Alex Forsyth so far in camp, both in terms of leadership and in terms of his play on the field. Talk about Alex, and then also that center position in general. How's that kind of shaping up early in fall camp?
Yeah, so Alex, first of all, I think when you ask other players, they're going to tell you the truth, right, as to who's really shining. So I would take whatever those other players are saying with more substance than even what coaches tell you about, because they're the ones who have to go against them, right? And so Forsyth, just a tremendous leader, toughness, intelligence. And it's really shining through. You could tell that kid, even the last 2 years in the offensive line room, even with guys like Lemieux, Throckmorton, and Hansen, the best note taker was Alex Forsyth. I mean, if you say but, that guy writes everything down. That's just who Alex is, and his grades in school are also reflect that. So we've got him, we've got Ryan Walk. We've got Jonathan Dennis, Jaramillo. Those guys are competing for the center spot, but Forsyth is doing an unbelievable job. And just AJ, I would say that the biggest thing that he's made the biggest jump in is just the technique, just the technique, the fundamentals, the use of his hands has really jumped out at us as coaches, So, and he's just a guy that, he doesn't say a lot, but I would tell you that he's probably one of the most respected guys on the team, just because of his work ethic in the classroom, on the football field, and in the weight room. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how he plays out during the season.
Next question comes from Eric Scopel.
Hey, Coach. Good to see you again.
Good to see you, Eric.
Just replacing 5 starters, is this something that you've ever done at any level before? And obviously you were thinking it was 4 until Penny made the choice, but how do you approach that? I mean, it seems like you usually have a guy or 2 to lean upon that at least has starting experience, but you don't have that right now.
Yeah. Well, I was a high school coach for 16 years, so I had to do that every year, So it's almost like going back to high school and having to replace everybody, because there it's every 2 years, everybody rotates through. And then I had that one time at Marshall University, where we ended up having to start 3 true freshmen one of my years there. So have experienced that, never all 5, but it's been fun. I'll tell you, it's been fun because it's a blank slate. You start from scratch. You don't assume that they know anything, and so it's been really, really fun. And as a teacher, that's what I love to do. That's what I love to do. I love to teach. I love to guide. And so it's been great, and they've been sponges. They've been awesome. And we just don't have experience, right? So what do? You got to go out and get the experience, go play, But other than that, I mean, from a work ethic standpoint, those other 5 guys last year didn't work any harder than these guys. They didn't
Next
lead.
question.
They didn't lead any more or less than these guys are leading, So it's just a game experience. So we just got to go out and play, and they're going to go do a heck of a job. Whoever those 5 guys are, go do a heck of a job, and let's roll.
Next question. Kevin Wade, 247 Sports.
Hey, Coach, how's it going?
Hey, Kevin, how you doing?
Very good. Wanted to ask you about the newcomers this year. Bope, I know you got to work with Jonathan Dennis, but Bope, Marcus, Jalen, and then the addition of Logan. How have those guys progressed? And then Jalen Smith moving over from the defensive line.
Yeah, so JD was here last year. Obviously, I'm not last year, but he got here in January, and he got four practices of spring ball with us, and then now, so he's progressing really well. He's in the center battle. He's center battle playing some guard for us as well. Provides us with that flexibility. He's doing really well. Just in terms of just understanding more of what we're doing offensively and understanding why we do what we do. Then you got Big Ope. Big Ope. He's doing really good. I mean, he's a large human being now. He's the largest guy I've ever been around. But he's a good athlete. He's a good athlete, and so he's starting to come along. He's lost a lot. I think he's lost like 46, 48 pounds since he got here. So that's allowing his athleticism and stuff like that to come forth with it. Logan Sagapolo. He was on he was on the mission. He hasn't played football in 2 years. So there's a lot of rust there that's coming off. And so. Hey, Logan, you got to use your hand. Oh, yeah, coach. So things like that he's getting, he's now, he's been 2 years away, so, but he's he's strong as an ox, obviously, as everybody knows. So he's doing really well. Jeffers, athletic as all get out. He's just like a long spider. I mean, he came in at 260 pounds. He's 284 pounds, so he's progressing. And then you got, nobody ever talks about him. I don't know why, but Marcus Harper. I think Harp's. He's gonna be a hell of a player now, and he's got a real strong lower body. And we're right now just working on him using his hands in pass protection. But he's doing excellent for us. So, and that's exciting, man. It's exciting. We got all these young guys, and they keep me young. And then Jalen Smith came over from the defense and kind of was, just, hey, Jalen, let's go. So we threw him at left tackle. And he's just, he's a good athlete, long, tough. And so it's been fun. It's been fun watching him develop. He'll have 2 great reps, and then what the heck are you doing? So it's cool, man. It's cool. And I'm looking forward to all those guys developing, and here's the deal, Kevin, which is real nice. We got no guys returning, right? But we have at one point in time, some point, these guys right now, these young guys who are going to take their lumps, and they're going to get their nose bloodied, and they're going to get a couple black eyes. These guys, at some point in time, it's going to be their time, and it's going to be where we're going to have 5, 6 seniors, and so you got to develop it. You got to develop it, and they're developing, but it's awesome to be around them.
Next question, back to James Crapia from the Oregonian.
So try to get a 2-for-1 here, but Ope and Jeffers to follow up, just who's on what spot? Because you mentioned the other 3. I know where they're lined up, but where's Ope at and where's Jeffers at? And then higher up on the second line, who is your number 2 right guard, and who's just your number 3 tackle in general when Jonah's out at the moment, or was out?
Well, so our tackles right now, we're repping at tackle. We're repping Steven. We're repping George Moore. We're repping Jaramillo. We're repping Sala. We're repping all those guys. All those guys are repping at tackle. Guys don't talk about Jaramillo. I think Jaramillo's having a hell of a camp. And Jaramillo's can play tackle. He can play center for us. And we're cross-training all those guys. Every one of those guys is cross-training. Every one of them. So like Sala is play guard. Sala plays tackle. And George Moore's playing inside, playing outside. I mean, they're all playing everywhere. Because, again, I truly believe that. We got to try to find our best 5 guys. You got to get one guy can snap, and our best 5 guys are our best 5 guys. For them are tackles, and we got to fit them in. We got to fit them in. TJ Bass is playing inside. He's playing tackle as well, So, and I'm not trying to be sly or slick or coy with it. I'm being honest. All these guys they're cross-training everywhere because we have got to give ourselves who are the best 5. And then, okay, if something happens, right, with this whole COVID deal, right, if something happens, we better have guys who could play multiple positions, James, So, that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing. And, you ask who's repping it with the second guards. I mean, Harper's in there. Dennis is in there. You've got Sam Patasi's in there. You got Walk, all those guys, So we're just rolling, man. We're rolling.
And Ope and Jeffers.
Ope. So the young guys are a little bit different, right? So Ope is strictly playing left tackle right now. Jeffers is strictly playing right tackle, just because of the fact that those, you don't want to move the young guys around because that's a lot, So a little bit the older guys, you move them around. And we have a walk on from Colorado, Kai Arnson, who's going to be a heck of a football player, and so he's in there. He's in there sharing reps at right tackle as well. So and I think the world of him and what he's contributing to us. I mean, he's Kai's like 6'5", about 310 pounds, 311 pounds, and he had some mid-major offers and declined to go there because his dream was to come play at the University of Oregon. So he's a good football player.
Next question, AJ Jacobson from Rivals.
Coach, one of the things that set that the offensive line group apart last year was the fact that they communicated so well. People didn't know it, but those guys really can read each other's minds. How is this group developing with their communication skills along that front line?
It's good, AJ. They communicate every play, right? So the center comes up, hey, it's 4 down, hey, it's odd, hey, it's bear, whatever. And then we make our line calls, So the big thing, AJ, with them is making sure that they are being clear, concise with their communication, that they're not keeping a secret. When you're not kind of sure what you do, you kind of whisper the call, right? If you're sure and you're confident, you blurt it out. You know what I'm saying? So we're on their tail, Coach Cristobal, myself, Coach Terry, we're on their tail in the meeting room. We're on their tail on the field. So in the meeting room, we sit them down and, okay, so like, let's say Forsyth's in at center. I'll say, okay, Alex, what's your call? All right, coach, it's 4 down. All right, and then what's your line of scrimmage call? Right, and then he makes his line of scrimmage call, and we tell the right tackle, right guard, what's your call? So we make them verbalize it in the meeting room, just like they just did on the field. You know what I'm saying? So that's all offensive line play is. Offensive line play is communication. And we have one of our mantras in the old line room is 5 men, 1 mind. Those 5 guys got to all be one mind. They can't see 5 different things. Okay, we've got to see one thing, and we're either going to be all right together or all wrong together. So that's huge for us, AJ, is the communication, right? So they speak 2 languages. They speak English, and then they speak Oregon O-line language, and that's how they communicate, and that's how they get on the same page. There's no, AJ, maybe 3 years from now, 4 years from now, they'll be able to read each other's mind. Right now, we don't give them that ambiguity. We don't allow that. So they have to, we make them blurt it out, whether again, in the meeting room, on the field, in individual drills. So that's how we do it. That's how we do it. And man, I'll tell you what, if somebody doesn't make a call, the other guy's like, oh, down their throat, dude, I need the call, So that's how we do it, and we'll get there, but that's a major part of offensive line play anywhere in the country.
Next question, Eric Scopel, 247 Sports.
Seems like every year, Coach, there are a couple guys that really step up as seniors or their last couple of years in the program. George Moore was a guy who came in with a lot of accolades, top JUCO guy. We haven't really seen much of him. Is he a candidate to be that kind of player, though, his senior year? I mean, do you see potential for him to – go ahead.
Absolutely. And George is one of those guys that, George opted in. You know what I'm saying? He opted in. I'm sure George had the opportunity in the past to transfer to another school, and because he was logged behind all those other guys. You know what I'm saying? And no, he chose to stay here. He chose to stay here. I'm sure at the end of when all this stuff happened, he had the opportunity to opt out and go down and play closer to home and all that. But he decided to come back. And heck, he's having a great camp. That's what I'm gonna say. I mean, he's having a great camp, and he has definitely put himself in a position to be one of those 5 guys. Now whether he ends up being or not, we'll find out. But he's done a heck of a job. And you know how it is, Eric. A lot of times it's just a matter of getting an opportunity. and he had guys in front of him who not only never missed a game, but those guys never missed practice. To those guys, so it was hard for those guys and again, some guys, they get an opportunity and they take it, and he's taking advantage of the opportunity right now. And Coach Cristobal, myself, Coach Terry, man, we couldn't be happier for him. But more importantly, we couldn't be happier because he's now starting to see that the time that he has spent here, it will be worth it. You know what I'm saying? Will be worth it. Even if it's maybe only 8 games, it doesn't, it'll be worth it. And he's got a tremendous attitude right now. And, he is providing some of the age, and experience and maturity. But it's I'll tell you what, it's been a blessing that he decided to come back to the University of Oregon. That's for sure.
Next question, Ryan Thorburn, the Register Guard.
Hey, Alex, earlier today, Tyler Shuck was talking about how he kind of picks the brains of his roommates, even at dinner, Alex and Walk, about, protections or whatever. They've known each other for a few years now. Is that kind of off-field chemistry? Is that showing up? Can you tell that those three are on the same page?
You know what? It is, and Tyler is the other day I walked by the meeting room where they were meeting. The O-line was in there on their own. They were in there on their own, and they were just watching, obviously, and let me say it, with the proper distancing and their masks on and all that stuff, right? So, and I peeked my head in, and Tyler Shuck was in there, and that's important because at the end of the day, if you're the quarterback, you want to know who we're blocking, but you also want to know who we're not blocking, because that joker's coming and you better get rid of that rock, So, but you could see, like everything else, right? If you spend enough time around everybody, the chemistry and stuff like that, and those guys are tight. Tyler's tight with Alex and tight with Ryan, and it's smart, man. Your old lineman and your quarterback should be tight at the hip, because there's much more than just, hey, go, just going ready, set, go, but you could see that paying off out on the field, and it's nice to see, and it's nice, and hopefully, we're going to bear the fruits of that.
Next question, back to James Crapia from the Oregonian.
Alex, Mario had mentioned that TJ reminds you guys of Shane, and that's really huge praise for JUCO transfers. Been here at that point for like 11 practices when he said that. How far along is he already, and how quick and like immediately impact do you see him being? And talk to his recruitment in that, especially when again pre-pandemic and everything else, there was no guarantee he was going to start here this year. He didn't walk in and was promised anything. You guys don't do that anyway, but you can look at a depth chart and see where there's openings. There was no guarantee of that at all. And he could have gone to places where, quite frankly, that was pretty much guaranteed. But he didn't do that, and he's here, and he's already being compared to, an all Pac-12 and borderline All-American guy in Shane already. What have you seen from him?
You know what? TJ don't say nothing. So if you guys interview him, good luck. But because he's really quiet. So in that sense, he's a little bit different than Shane. But TJ's just tough. He's tough. Up in the Washington area up there in Deming, he's just tough, and he's just a guy he's strong. He's a good athlete now. With his makeup and his character, he doesn't want anything given to him. You know what I'm saying? So but he's doing really well. He's doing really, really well. He's learned he's learned at a very, very fast rate and a high rate, and I definitely see the comparisons to Shane, and hopefully he ends up playing here and has the same impact that Shane Lemieux does.
We got time for 2 more. Eric Scopel, 247 Sports is up.
Mentioned Kai earlier as a walk-on. Another walk-on, Ryan Walk. We spoke with him earlier today, and I think probably more resembles a scholarship player at this point with his experience at Oregon. Is he a guy that could be deserving of a scholarship start? And then B, what has he just meant to this program? A local kid who's continued to work and at a position of great importance.
You know what? He's toughness personified. He is a complete culture and team guy. And you're seeing, I mean, he's in the competition to be one of those guys, one of those 5 guys, you know, and as far as scholarship goes, that's above me. But he's a guy that, but it does tell you this: we don't care whether you're on scholarship or a walk-on. You know, you're going to be rewarded based upon, you know, your productivity on the field. You know, and I do know this. I would venture to say there's the Oregon football program probably means more to Ryan Walk than to anybody else in this program. I really do believe that. You're talking about a kid who was raised in those stands at Autzen Stadium. So for him to be able to run out on the field and possibly be in the lineup, I mean, that's it. I think that drives him, you know, he's got a chance. I mean, he's got a real chance. And I know you guys have talked about how other players on defense have noticed him. Well, so have the coaches. And, you know, you talk about kids from Oregon, you know, he's an Oregon kid that's making an impact on this offensive line right now and will have an impact this year. Alex Forsyth is a kid from Oregon who's having an impact on this offensive line right now this year. And you also have Dawson Jaramillo, who will be, you know, and wherever I've been, whether when I was coaching down in the state of Florida, where I was coaching in the state of West Virginia, or now in the state of Oregon, it does mean more to those guys because this is their state school. So, and that means a lot, you know, and so you could see with how they drive themselves, how much this program means to them. So Ryan Walkman I look forward to seeing him out on the field this year. That's for sure.
Last question goes to Ryan Thorburn from the Register Guard.
Alex, you mentioned having the guys call out all the communications and stuff like that. I'm just curious from your perspective, without fans this year, does that change how you go about practicing for cadence and crowd noise and all that stuff? I mean, you see some of these veteran NFL quarterbacks just going up to the line and doing whatever they want. How are you guys approaching that?
Well, I told him, I said, listen now, don't be telling me you made a call because I'll be able to hear you on the sideline, you know? So you know, now I don't know if there's going to be ambient noise or not, you know, but as far as them communicating up front, I mean, whether there's noise or not noise, like we're not, I don't know if your question is this, but if there's no noise, they're still going to communicate as if they're 90,000 people there, you know what I'm saying? So they got to be clear, concise, loud. That's all part of it, you know, that's all part of it, you know, but you have seen, Ryan, I have seen the issues with the cadence because there's no crowd there, you know what I'm saying? So we have to be more disciplined as an offensive line and as an offense, because now before you might not be able to hear what the defense was barking out, but now you know, you might hear stuff that the defense is barking out and you can't think, okay, that's the cadence, you know what I'm saying? So I think you're going to be seeing some of that, you know, where defenses might be trying to draw offenses off to false start and stuff like that. So, but as far as the crowd noise goes, you know, I don't know if the Pac-12 is going to allow ambient noise or not. I don't know that, you know, so, but it's not going to change our cadence process, what we've been doing and different things that Coach Moorhead has done, you know. There's, I don't know how it doesn't, like, in other words, the fact that there's no crowd there, I don't think we can use it as an offense to our advantage. You know what I'm saying? I think the defenses can, but not the offenses.